Welcome back to Jacques in the Garden. It is almost spring. It is near the end of February here. As we approach spring, it's important to think about what we want to get out of our garden space. Every single year as gardeners, we want to improve in some way, whether that's more yield, more diversity, or just to improve or expand the space that we're in. So in this video, I want to talk about all the plans that I have for this year in terms of my approach to the garden, what I want to get out of it, what plans I have, what projects I want to work on, and everything in between, starting with what do I actually want to grow this year and how the heck am I going to fit it in this space? So why am I so concerned about how I'm going to fit everything I want to grow into my garden when this is just half my garden and it's a pretty big space? Well, it's because this year I've really gone all in on some long haul crops. This bed over here is entirely planted with onions, so this is basically locked out for at least another 3 months. If I continue down this way, this raised bed over here is also 100% onions. I have this section right here, which is all of my spring wheat. Again, that's going to be months before it's ready. Another bed in the back there full of leeks and onions, not gonna be ready for a while. And then this 10 by 10 gigantic bed is entirely full of garlic, which means that I will not even be able to access the space probably until May at the earliest. Now, what else do I want to grow in my garden? Well, that's an interesting question. So I decided to sit down here in between my wheat patch and nasturtium bed and also this gigantic patch of garlic to talk about one of my plans for this year, which is to increase the amount of diversity in the things that I'm growing. Now, last year I did a little pilot where I grew a small bed of a summer heat tolerant broccoli, and I was able to get broccoli in August and it was actually quite delicious, better than actually what I could get at the grocery store. So this year I want to do more of that. But here's the thing, I don't actually have to sacrifice much to do that because those kinds of plants like broccoli or anything that you grow in the springtime that you usually can't grow in the summer are plants that can do well in the shade. So any of my shady sections of the garden are where I plan on putting some of those things that I want to just push into a deeper part of the season. Maybe some extra kale, maybe some extra broccoli, a cauliflower here and there. That's basically the goal for my shade area. Now, the other thing is that I want to put more perennials in. I have replanted a bed of artichokes. So I have 3 artichokes in. I also got a replacement rhubarb because my last rhubarb died after 5 years, which I think is pretty standard for its lifespan. And I even planted some perennial leeks. Yes, perennial leeks, they're called Delft leeks. Instead of pulling them out of the ground, you just cut them at the base and then they continue to regrow. So those are some of the things I want to add to my garden. I also have rerouted my tree collard because that thing has become a crazy mess. But now what about the rest? There's no way I'm going to be able to fit at least 24 tomatoes in here because some of them I want more than one. Now the peppers are easy. Peppers you could space at like even 18 inches apart and you could jam a crazy amount of peppers in the garden. So what am I gonna do about my tomatoes? Well, let's pop into the greenhouse and I'll show you my general plan. We'll see if it actually works out. All right, one of the plans that I have for this year is to make better use of my greenhouse. Last year, I kind of just abandoned it in the summertime and I didn't make good use out of it. This year, what I have is a bunch of overwintered peppers that have already been potted up. Now, I did show an update of them a while back, but they're looking way better now. They have a lot of leaves coming on. This one looks tremendous. It even has a little flower on the way. Most of these look quite good. And actually, the overwintered eggplant that I dug out of my raised bed is already making an eggplant. So things are looking very promising in the greenhouse. I have a cherry tomato here that's beginning to set fruit. So how am I gonna fit more stuff in here? Well, some of the stuff in the back here has just been kind of languishing. I have a banana that is way too big to be inside here. So I'll pull that guy out. I have a couple guavas that don't really need to be in here. This lemongrass, again, does not need to be in here. Of course, I will be keeping some ginger in here, which I'm still waiting for this to root out, but it is looking promising. It's still nice and hard, has not rotted away. And then if you look over here, this is where the problem gets real. All of this are some tomatoes that I planted early on because I panicked when I realized I didn't have any in the ground and it's been a hot winter. And then these are more tomatoes and peppers. So I'm gonna have a lot. I already have some that I've potted up as well. So what are we going to do about this problem? I obviously cannot fit all of them in this greenhouse. I can fit some more peppers in here. I probably plan on putting at least 10 more grow bags, 5-gallon grow bags of peppers. But the tomatoes, we need another solution. So here's the other main garden area, and it's a pretty good size. I think it's roughly like 30, maybe 40 by 40. It's been a while since I've remeasured it, but I cannot fit everything in here either. So one of the things I was thinking about is let's take a little walk over to the other side. This is a little part I don't really show you guys because I don't really have any need to, but I actually do have a driveway. Even though I don't have a garage, which is very frustrating, I do have this big driveway here, which can come in handy for parking the car when we need to load it up for camping trips and stuff. But for the most part, it kind of just sits like this. It's usually just covered in piles of stuff. Like right now, I've got piles of mulberry branches because I just trimmed my big mulberry trees and I need to actually mulch these up, but that's neither here or there. What I want to talk about is that this whole space gets a lot of sun, especially if I trim some of these crazy bushes here that are a good privacy hedge, but definitely more than it needs to be right now. I could easily string out at least 10, 15 gallon grow bags. Now this is important because the grow bags aren't just going to be for the tomatoes. Actually they will be just for the tomatoes, but it's not just because of space. It's because of another major issue that I've had. And now let's talk about my approach to pest and disease management this year. Every single year, we basically get a new pest in the garden. It's just inevitable. As you change things around, as the climate kind of shifts and moves, you're going to end up finding new pests. Maybe a neighbor moved in, started growing something. Well, here's what happened in my garden over the years. Year one, when we first set up this space, we turned over a lot of basically just weedy soil that wasn't really being used for much, and we got inundated with roly-polies, aka pill bugs or sow bugs, and earwigs. They literally were everywhere in the garden. I don't mean just like a couple, I mean hundreds, thousands. You would dig into a raised bed and they would just run out of the soil. It was absolutely insane. I thought to myself, man, how am I gonna garden here? This is literally impossible. Well, turns out that every single pest will eventually find its balance. At least that's what we basically hope for as gardeners. It's never really worth trying to fully fight to eradicate something using everything in your means. So year one, very heavy earwig and pill bug load. Year two, significantly diminished. Today, they're around, but they're not really a pest anymore. I kind of see them here or there, but they're not really wreaking havoc in my garden. Now, 2 years ago, I had a different pest. Actually, 3 years ago, was the leaf-footed bug. Now, if you don't know what these guys are, they basically go around and they stab all of your tomatoes to suck the juices. They cover them in these little dots and then they spread disease. Now, I went around squishing every single one that I could that year. The next year, they were still around, but they were in fewer numbers. And then last year, I actually didn't see a single one. Instead, I started seeing a couple stink bugs. But what really came into its own last year was a root knot nematode. Now, I talked about this a lot last year, probably to the point where you guys were exhausted hearing about it, but it's a very annoying pest. It's something that hides in the soil. You can't even see it with your naked eye. There's no pesticide. Even if you wanted to buy a pesticide and spray, there is no pesticide you could even buy as a home grower. It's just not allowed. It's literally illegal to buy nematicides. So what do I do? Well, there's a couple different things to help. I won't get into that too much this year because I've already talked about it a lot in previous videos. And eventually I'll make a master video on how I managed to eventually tackle this issue. But what I did this year is I'm growing a lot of disease-resistant varieties. So from those 24 tomatoes, I think at least 8 of them are known to have high root knot nematode resistance, which means that I could still put them in the ground and they will probably be fine. They're not going to be immune to them by any means, but they will still be able to produce. The other thing I did is I'm growing a 4-tomino tomato, which is a rootstock tomato that I will be grafting heirloom tomatoes onto. This rootstock has that nematode resistance, which should help those heirlooms be able to also produce. But the grow bag solution is even better because I don't have to do anything fancy. I just have to set up big grow bags. I want at least 15 gallons because tomatoes grow for a long period of time. They take up a lot of nutrients and water. So the bigger your container is, the better off you are. If I went even bigger, it would be better, but then soil gets pretty expensive. Now, the beautiful thing about this method is that in a grow bag, especially if you're using new soil, there shouldn't be any reason for root knot nematodes to exist there, which means that you will not have that pest issue at all. It will not actually get into those tomatoes. Now, this does 2 things for me. First of all, it alleviates some of that stress. It guarantees that I will get a tomato harvest from those containers, but also just reduces the actual pest throughout my garden. If I don't put those tomatoes in the ground where the root knot nematodes love tomatoes, then they won't have anything to parasitize. Now, they might attack other plants, but the tomatoes seem to be their favorite. So that's one of the beautiful things about growing in containers is that it could give you a little loophole out of certain problems, especially something like the root knot nematode. Otherwise, disease resistance is key. I'm expanding that this year substantially. which means growing more hybrids, heirlooms that have known disease resistance, instead of just my tried true classic favorites. That is just one of the compromises as a gardener we have to make every once in a while. So as I was talking about that tomato grafting, it reminded me of another thing I really want to try to do more of this year. And let me know if you guys want to see this content, and that is grafting fruit trees. Now I have grafted fig trees before, which are quite easy, but I have this citrus here. I'm gonna call it a wild citrus. Let me just move around so you can see just how massive it is. This is all a single citrus plant. I did not put it here. It's been here as long as we've lived here, and it is massive. It is very productive. It's covered in fruit, and it has zero irrigation. I have never watered this tree. I've actually chopped it down almost to the ground like twice now, and it keeps coming back. So I don't want to get rid of it, but I do want to actually make it useful, because the citrus that it grows right now is so sour, it'll literally rip the enamel off your teeth. At least that's what it feels like. So my plan is to definitely prune it back, but I also want to graft citrus onto it. Not just citrus, but productive citrus. So what's cool about grafting is that you could take similar, or the same plant especially, and graft different varieties onto it. Not only just different varieties, but multiple different varieties. So on this one tree, I could put a lemon, I could put a lime, I could put an orange. I could get crazy with it. I probably won't get that weird because that just sounds kind of odd, but I definitely want to do some citrus grafting. So let me know if you guys want to see that content as well. So with all that being said, I still need to actually figure out how I'm going to fit everything else in my garden. Now, there is a way you could do it, which is just to randomly fly by the seat of your pants and just adapt every single day as you approach your garden. And that's usually what I do. And it kind of works out for the most part, but I end up with these annoying gap periods where I missed my window. And now I'm sitting with an empty bed for maybe 1 week, 2 weeks, a full month, because I'm waiting for the thing that I want to actually grow to be ready to be put in the ground. So my plan is to actually use our garden planner. The Epic Garden Planner is quite powerful. It's part of our greenhouse membership, which also gives you 10% off our whole store and free shipping on whatever you want, as well as access to the planner and expert gardening advice that you could just ask whenever you want. You could just ping them with a question and they'll answer it on the spot. But my point here is that this bed right here behind me, which currently is growing some cabbages and some other brassicas, I could fit like 30 peppers in that bed. So I'm not that worried about peppers. I have another 4x8 bed back here that I've already cleared out. Again, I could fit like at least another 30 peppers in that one bed alone. But then there's the bigger picture stuff, like the garlic. I don't want to miss the window on this gigantic piece of land here and just let it sit empty. So what I'm going to do is put all of these long haul crops, such as the wheat, the onions, the garlic, into the planner and try to estimate when I think they will be ready. And then I will plant in the planner the future things I have in mind. So remember earlier when I said I want to grow corn and squash? Well, this is a great candidate for a Three Sisters bed where I could grow corn, squash, and beans, all three things that I wanted more of, in one bed, but I have to get my timing right. So if I set it up in the planner, it'll automatically email me 2 weeks before I need to get those things started, and then I will not miss that opportunity window. Now, that is kind of everything in terms of the actual planting and vegetable and sort of flower growing. I didn't really talk about flowers, but I am planning on growing more flowers this year and also more fruit, specifically berries. Maybe you'll see that in a future video. But the next thing is, what am I actually going to do with the space itself? So over here is the mulberry tree where I was showing you all the branches I cut off of earlier. And this is our primary sort of hangout zone. This is where we spend most of the time in the summer because it's shaded. We have some decent seating, but I want to clean this area up. I want to make it more functional, more seating, more good vibes, because hanging out with friends is basically what it's all about. Friends and family, entertainment. It's so much fun. It's something I think a lot of people are missing out on, but you need to have the right space for it. And it doesn't have to be perfect. I mean, look at the space here. It's obviously not perfect. It's not the cleanest place in the world, but we have people here all the time hosting little garden parties. But I want to do better. I want to clean this space up, make it more functional, put some more beautification in, start potting up some of these plants here that have been a little bit neglected and left to languish. And one of the other things is I want to reset this herb bed. This is the first raised bed that I actually put into my garden space. And I've had a lot of plants in here that have grown for a long time, which means that I haven't really been able to fill the soil as the soil has been used and sort of settling out. So I want to reset this. And beyond that, I just want to make sure that this year I do a better job about cleaning. Like right there, I just have random trash. I shouldn't have that there. I should make sure my space is clean and functional at all times. Now in the garden itself, this year I want to actually do a big order of compost and mulch if I can. Last year I kind of skipped the compost application step, and I think this year it looks like it needs it. This bed has settled quite a bit. It's basically at ground level now. And the best way to build it back up is to just add compost. So I think I'll probably get a couple cubic yards of compost and mulch delivered, and then spread it all throughout the garden, which also makes for a great workout. As I was talking about the compost and mulch throughout my garden, I noticed that this flowering broccoli was in the shot, and it's something else I want to talk about, which is trying to keep productive plants in the garden only. Now, what does productive mean? It can mean a lot of different things. In this case, since it's still late winter and the only row transplant I have that's ready to go in the ground is a pepper or tomato, this isn't a good place to put those in. It's a little bit too early to put some of those in the ground. Tomatoes will probably be fine. Peppers, it still gets down into the high 40s at night, and I don't want to really put them in the ground yet. So by leaving it in the ground, it is still able to be productive, but not in the eating sense. Anytime you have a living plant in the soil, it's better than having bare soil. Bare soil just dies. There's nothing alive in there anymore. There's of course a little bit alive, but it's going to be much less alive than when you have roots in there that are constantly exchanging materials with the soil and feeding the soil itself. The other thing is that since this is flowering, the bees are now able to forage from it. But in general, I do encourage you guys at home to just remove unproductive plants. There's no point in leaving something covered in disease or that's rotting or not really giving you anything in return, unless it's going to just leave the soil bare. Now, for diseased plants, that's a fair point to remove them because you're just going to be spreading that disease to other plants. So now we've talked about the plants, the garden itself, and how I plan on working on the general garden space itself. But now I want to talk about some projects. Every year I do have projects that I want to accomplish in the garden. And for the past kind of 2 years, I've really wanted to redo my fence. Now, will I be able to redo the whole thing? Probably not, but my hand has been forced in certain little sections. So right over here, I want to show you this first, which is my grape, which I just recently pruned. I've pruned it really heavily this year, and I think it's going to actually benefit from that greatly. If you want a full grape pruning video, we did one on the Epic Gardening channel that is very complete and explains why this is a good idea. But the main thing I wanted to show you here is this. This is the trellis. It's not in the ground anymore. It is fully rotted out. So I do have to rebuild this trellis. It's right on the fence anyway, so I think that I will have a chance to be able to redo at least this whole section. But there are 2 other major projects that honestly are more important. All right, the first one is another one that is a hangover from last year, and that is rebuilding my compost bin. I actually have some really good ideas on how I want to make this entire compost system way more efficient. But even bigger than that, I just need a bigger actual compost bin system. Currently, I only have 2 bays, and it's really hard to cycle all the material through when one fills up really quickly and the other one is still waiting to be fully used. So I'm planning on going at least 3 bays and moving towards that direction into the garden. And remember that banana I had in the greenhouse? Well, that's probably also going to get planted with my compost bin because bananas love compost. And I think I could probably steal some of those nutrients from the compost bin to grow some crazy good bananas. So compost bin is a yes, but there's another section where I actually just haven't made a lot of content on recently that needs some work. And what I'm talking about is not this giant green blob. Well, it is part of it. This is passion fruit. It is the chickens themselves. This whole area has been on pretty much autopilot for some time now, and it's fine. It's been working totally well, but they just need a little bit of time, love, and care. So let's go ahead and pop in here. And the first thing I want to talk about is the chicken orchard itself. It's been an okay experience. I will probably do a full video on this, but there's definitely some things I would change. One of the problems that I ran into is that look how spindly this lemon tree is. It's still producing. Wow, you guys are really chatty today, huh? But the problem that happened was that this passion fruit literally took over this entire coop. When I say it literally took over, I mean it was growing all the way through here, all the way over the surface net, across into the trees, up into the trees themselves. It suffocated this whole area of light. So I need to rebuild this whole fence, and I'll show you what it looks like on the outside really quick. This is similar to that grape trellis. It's using these poles here, and many of them have already rotted and fallen. Now, the other thing that's annoying is that this black netting that we put here to protect the chickens just gets all tangled up. It's hard to separate plants from it. So my plan is to actually put a taller welded wire fence here, probably another 2 feet high, remove this black netting, and then the real question is, am I still going to grow passion fruit here or not? And I think probably not. It's just too vigorous. It's taking up too much light. And it's also affecting the chickens. By blocking all the light to the chickens, they're not able to get as much sunlight as they could possibly want. So this whole area, big project. but this whole area needs to get redone. So there you have it, guys. Those are my goals for the garden this year. I'd love to hear from you what you're planning on working on, what you're focusing on, and what you want to accomplish out of your garden. Is it more food? Is it more beauty? Is it expanding? Let me know down in the comments. I'd love to hear, and I'll see you guys next time.